Hey, welcome back to Evil's Comics. I'm Evil Mike, and I have another review for you. This is going to be Image Comics Sweet Paprika #2. Tell you how much I love this comic. I mean, it shows because I picked up multiple variants for it. I don't really do that. I don't really have the money to do that. It would be nice. I would do that on every comic if I had the money to do that, but comics are quite pricey, and they're getting a little more pricey, you know what I'm saying? And I already buy a lot as it is. So, if you ever see that I picked up multiple variants for a comic, it's for a reason. Now, I can say that reading the second issue, actually by like the third page, I was sold. This jumped to one of my top, books of 2021. And I can explain why. There are actually very simple reasons on why I believe and believe and know for me that this is one of my top books of this year and maybe some of the best writing I've read in forever. One, it has a beautiful way of poking fun of stereotypes, and it's done by the right side of that. I mean, it's written and drawn by a woman, Mirka, Andolfo, an Italian woman. I do not know what she looks like. I don't care, but she's able to poke fun at like normal everyday stereotypes that women have, that men have, and she does it in a fun and intelligent way. And that's just one thing. But I mean, because when you get down to it, the story is really basic. It's easy. In my opinion, it's extremely spec worthy because I know this is going to be a show. If you don't, you're nuts because. If anybody doesn't pick this up and make it into a show, it's ridiculous because it has the whole setting for a racy, a TV show like HBO or even Showtime or Amazon. And I can see it getting picked up quickly, especially after this issue, because the first issue, I loved it. It was good and everything, but it didn't jump ahead of other comics, let's just say. And in my opinion, Evil Mike, there is no like perfect comic, or that's like that question, what's your favorite comic book? I mean, that's kind of like a loaded question. I don't know, man. I've read so many. There's so many good ones. There's so many bad ones. And of course, all my opinion. But and that varies from everybody. Everybody's got favorites, or not, and then that's hard for me to say what's my favorite comic book of all time. I don't know. But as far as one of my favorite reads of this year, yes, indeed, man, I am full on board. And with the second issue, it just got better. The first issue, I was real hesitant. I actually passed on this book because of Mom. I was burnt out on Mom. It was also a female team, and I just, I was like, and I read the synopsis, and at the time, I was already picking up too much. There wasn't any hatred towards the book, nothing like that. It wasn't like because of Mom, I was now like a full-on like female hater. That's not how Mike works, regardless. But it was more on the time. I didn't, money-wise, and just because of Mom, I was like, I'm gonna pass on that one. I am so sorry that I did, though, boy. Sometimes that FOMO kicks in, and man, when I read that first issue, I was like, man, this is actually good. This second issue, boy, like, man, it took me a long time to read because I kept putting it down because I either kept laughing or I was amazed, or it was a good book. Like, I mean, and a lot better than a lot of other books out there. Sweet Paprika is basically a rom-com. It is a romantic comedy following Paprika. She is an executive, like, that works for a publishing agency in the afterlife. In this afterlife, devils and demons, and angels and gods, they all get together. There is no animosity. There is no like evil versus the good type thing. They all work for the same guy kind of thing. So they all live in the same world and interact with each other. And in this, and angels and demons in this up there or whatever, they all have regular jobs just like us, like garbage men and postmen and comic book workers. So she works for a publishing company, and they do books and magazines, and specifically in the comic, they are working on a book that is at like a heaven, bestseller, and they are turning it into a movie, and that's kind of the nut, her, it's just her stressful life of being the CEO, at the same time having a non-existent sex life. This comic is mature. It's not mature all the time, but it's mature in thought throughout the book. I wouldn't say this is at any part a kid's book. Now it does have some kid-friendly pictures, like this is her cover, and I love all her art. But she's had some other great artists do very sexy covers, which that's the one I wanted right there. But that's basically the story in a nutshell, and it's just her ongoing adventure of like not getting any while dealing with all the stuff that's going on in her life. Her parents, working for this company and dealing with like her coworkers, and then her trying to have some sort of romance. Some of the best things in this book are like the dry comedy, or I like to call it like intelligent comedy, because it's slow. It's something that started in the first book, and it takes yada 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 to pay off. And you might not get it at first, but if you remember it, and then you get up there, man, the joke pays off like in so many different forms. But there's a lot of like long payoff jokes, and especially from the first book to this one. Like we had met the kind of the love interest, and he's shown on the front cover, and his name is Dill, and he is an angel. And then we got Paprika, and the dog is actually, he's always with Dill. I don't think we have a name on the dog. But Dill is just a delivery man that delivers to her publishing agency on a daily basis. And he's drawn like that, but in this world he's like model hot or whatever, so he's off banging everything that he comes across, but he's actually trying to find love himself. And he's finding the opposite, where like he has lots of substance but no actual substance with it, kind of thing. So let's get into it. And this definitely, yeah, we'll just get into it. Alright, so we catch up right here, and we got this devil, and he's flirting with this girl and everything, and I will say some of the best lines in this book come from the first 3 pages, and we're going to get there. But we're catching up with this guy, and we find out that his name is Mr. Pickle, and he's hitting on this girl, and she's all into it, and they get to this thing, and he's about to make his move, and then all of a sudden we get this caption, and we see, and every time she puts the heart, it's from somebody they know that's in the conversation, but it just says Daddy. And we find out that Dill Pickle, because his dad's name is Pickle and his name is Dill. Yeah, but there's a lot of like dill references, like dildo, but there's a lot of dry humor about that. But we find out that Dill has an adopted father named Mr. Pickle. Mr. Pickle is not having so much luck with the ladies, and every time Dill shows up, he just steals the ladies away, and Mr. Pickle is kind of, talking to his son about it and stuff like that. In the real life, the only real connection that Dill has is with his dad, because he keeps trying to get relationship, like with women, and they're just giving the sex part of it. He doesn't actually have the talking and caring part. We get into something that I couldn't imagine, but we catch up with Paprika and her mom, and of course they hinted at it at the end of the last issue, but sad to say that Paprika's father has passed away, that something happened in the middle of the night, and they are here, and they're crying, and they're going back and forth. I'm sorry, Paprika, I don't know how you're gonna do this. I'm just gonna have to go to work, and Daddy. And then we get to the next page, and bam, nope, that sucker's not even dead. He's sitting right there, and they're acting out this like what if he had died? Like, how would we act or whatever? I'm telling you, when I got to that page, I almost spit out my coffee, because I was actually sad, because I really thought he died. Okay, so But we get to where they just basically been sitting around because he did have a mild heart attack, and they were basically just messing with him because they've been forced to sit here, for like hours and hours. Why he was like, they kind of make it seem like it was an everyday thing. And the father is fine, and he stresses so at the same point. We also meet Barry, and they say it like 4 or 5 times, but Barry and his family, and we find out that Paprika's mom and dad at some point got divorced, and now this is Barry is Paprika's mom's new husband and her kids. They it's already been that long where she has already had new kids with the new marriage. They get into this whole jealousy thing between the dad and the mom, and it really doesn't boil down to that. The dad is more like, no, Paprika, you're the one that has the jealousy, that there is like a happy couple out there. Even though Paprika kind of like defeats it and ultimately puts it away and says that's not what's going on, her dad keeps hinting that she's resented because her marriage did not work. And she stresses to the point that her dad and her mom just did not know her first failed attempt at a real relationship, and they go into some details right here because they show her like first major boyfriend, and they were engaged, and eventually at the altar she walked away from him. But they kind of go into detail that Paprika just didn't, that she might have thought he was cute and this and that, but there was something about the relationship that did not work. And she doesn't go into great detail either. She starts to, and then she gets nervous even telling us, the reader, about it. Of course, in every bad relationship, no one wants to talk about, what really went wrong. They go back to, the publishing agency where Paprika works, and the co-workers are Paprika is a known hellion at work. She is a bitch, and but she is the boss, and she kind of stresses it. They get in here with this, like they introduce the actual CEO, and he's shown to be this like satanic demon looking guy over here, which I thought was really cool and everything. But he is summoning everybody to a board's meeting, and they're basically talking about the upcoming project of the movie that Paprika has signed with the company, with that book that the publishing company also had signed, which also came from Paprika. But they're talking about the two important people that are going to be at this meeting, and one person is like the writer of the book, and the other person is like, he's like the director and like sole copyright owner of the book and the movie and this and that. The boss is really demonstrating to both his top female executives that, that, hey, I understand that you are business, blah, 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 but we're also going to need to snag this, so I might need you to be a little more friendly. I'm not asking you to break any boundaries or anything, but, he's talking more to Paprika because she is just not that good with people. She's a business lady. She at work, she just bosses everybody around all day, and then when she goes home, she's by herself. She's not really good. She doesn't have a social life to practice with. So the boss kind of knows that, and he's kind of like more on that lines, friendly type thing. They do get into where both of the women are interested in the way the two guys look, to the point they make one of the funniest jokes in the book, and I will just have to say it has something to do with a scuba diver going down. But yeah, this book is good. We get to the point with the boss and the demon, and one of the things they exaggerate in the book is how evil he looks and everything, but in the background he's really this well-spoken, intelligent, caring, kind person. They love to play on stereotypes in this book. I'm telling you, they do a really good job on it. She goes back into basically completing the day and now being stressed out because she has this oncoming date with those two, the director and writer that she has to achieve to get the deal to, keep her job and blah, blah, blah. And she also wants to, like, do do good for her boss kind of thing. You know, she likes her company, she likes her job. You know, it's not that, you know, none of her praise or who she is undeserved. She's in the way it's written, she's a well deserved. You know, like she didn't just be given this position or this job. You know, she worked for it. They go into finally where she has a moment to rest, and they get here and they show that she has this one pleasure, and she like, and well, one big pleasure that she kind of like caters out to this fancy restaurant that specifically like she orders to, and they know exactly, or then she gets this like artisan, you know, meal that she pays a fortune for, and you know, it's hand delivered by the chef kind of thing, and it's kind of her one moment of peace, like a hobby, I guess you can say, that she does every day, and it's basically her lunchtime at work. But it gets to the kind of more the meat of the story, where like the delivery guy, you know, Dill, he shows up at her office saying that he has a package for her, and she instantly is like, wait a minute, that's not a package that normally gets delivered to me. And she instantly gets curious about it. And the odd thing is, Dill is kind of weirded out by it as well, because he doesn't remember the package being in his bag when he started his route. They do show previously in the earlier pages that someone did slip it in his bag when he first got to the company, while he was flirting with some of the men and women, in a friendly way. We do get to, after Dill's day off, that, oh, and I didn't even mention, wait, let me go back, and it's one of the funnier parts, but right here we saw that Dill's partner, the little dog, he ends up the one enjoying her artisan meal. Sorry, I kind of forgot that out. Now we get to a little more of the racy stuff, and like I said, there's no full-on nudity in this issue, but there is some pretty racy stuff. But we catch up with Dill, and he's being picked up by his adopted father, Mr. Pickle, and Mr. Pickle states that he has been waiting around at the bathroom for hours, and we find out why. It's because Dill's in the bathroom enjoying himself with a nice-looking lady. And it kind of goes back into the same thing, where the sex is great and everything, but she doesn't want anything to do with Dill. She's, you know, and she even thinks it's funny that he even tries to strike a pose about the subject, and you know, just says that she doesn't want to be friends with him in real life, and blah blah blah, and you know, he eventually gets on the bike and goes home with his dad, Mr. Pickle. We catch up with Paprika, and it is that night, and she is getting dropped off at the date with the director and the writer, and lo and behold, we find out one of the major reasons she was hesitant about, you know, doing this date with the writer and the director, because it turns out the writer is like her past, you know, ex-fiance that she broke up with, I think 10 years before this. So we're going to get to see how that goes down. They do reveal a little bit about the next issue, but not enough to tell you my thoughts on it, because I have thoughts on where I think it's going to go and where I'd want it to go. But all I can say is, you might think it's really girly or something like that, but I'm a full-on man. I'm not afraid to admit that I can do and deal with some things that some people aren't comfortable with, and that's fine. I'm not saying anything. And I'm not saying I'm better than anybody, and I'm not. But just don't judge it on the looks and everything. I mean, pick up number one. I mean, my LCS still has tons of them. Just pick up that number one. If you don't find it funny or interesting, I'm just saying. I don't know. No, I'm just... Alright, please like, comment, share, subscribe. That's my review. I will be back with more. Thanks, guys.